To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the off-grid lifestyle, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. Yesterday, I showed you our new IBC tank, new to us, of course it was used. And we got it relatively cheap. I should have told you that yesterday. We got it for $50. We found some for $25, but the cost to drive out there would have balanced out and the waste of time. And so we went ahead and went with the $50 one. If you go to Facebook Marketplace, everybody's selling them. So yesterday, it was raining all day. It is just muddy. So I thought it'd be a good day to fill the tank with water since it was raining for two reasons. One, so I had something to do. And two, I did not want to run the risk of running the well dry. And since it was raining, the well was going to continuously fill up because the ground's saturated. Now I've shown you how to fill it. In yesterday's video, you start the generator powers the well runs through this hose and into this filter, and then we just fill the tank. And it only took 3 or 4 hours. It took a lot longer because I throttled the well way down because I didn't want to run it dry. Running it dry can damage the pump. You don't want to run the pump without water surrounding it. The only thing it did was made the generator run longer. That was it. Now today I'm going to get it where we can actually pump water from this tank to our camper. And this is exactly how I'm going to set it up in the tiny house when we build a tiny house too, using an RV pump. Now yesterday I showed you that we've used an RV pump all through our nomadic lifestyle. We hooked it up to a bucket, and the bucket served as our IBC tank. Of course, it was only 5 gallons. And so the RV pump ran off DC electric, so we just hook it up to our house battery. And when there's a pressure difference, so if somebody opens the faucet in the camper, the pump realizes that there's a pressure loss, it kicks on automatically and pumps water into your device, so our water heater. Now, a lot of people have asked, why don't we put it up in the attic? I've answered this question several times, but I'll continue to answer it. Why don't we put the IBC tank up in an attic way high, and then we can just gravity feed the water right into the house? The reason is because there's not enough pressure to engage the water heater, but the water pump does that. The water pump has 30 PSI, 3 gallons per minute. So today I'm going to hook this up. These IBC tanks come with a discharge valve. If I open this up, the water would just dump right out. So, but you can buy adapters, attachments, all kinds of different kinds of attachments. Anything you can think of, they have on Amazon. You just put an IBC tank discharge valve or something, and you'll see these. And what this one is it has a little connection here, right here, that'll screw off, and I can hook a garden hose to it. I can just slide, if I cut the garden hose in half, and I can just slide that on, put a clamp on it. So what I did was I bought a hose, just a pipe, a tube, from the hardware store it was like 79 cents a foot, so I bought a foot of it, and I'm going to put that right onto here. Now, something to think about with these is the IBC tanks come in 2 different types of threads: metric discharge valve and then standard discharge valve. This one's a metric, and I got lucky. I bought it thinking I was going to buy a metric from the original place I was going to buy it from, but turned out he stopped selling them, so I bought it from somebody else, and I was like, boy, I hope it's metric. And it was, and it fits. All right, so this is the tubing that I bought that's going to attach right here. Now, it's going to be very tight to get on, and a little trick that I learned while I was doing the well is if you use a torch, you can heat these up a little bit, and they slide on a little better. Like that. Then you buy a clamp and you simply screw the clamp on. Now the problem I'm having is the fitting for the IBC tank, the one we just attached, is much bigger than the fitting for the pump itself. The pump is very small in diameter, and so I can almost fit the hose from the IBC tank around the hose of this one. So I have to downsize it. Now, you can go to Home Depot and you can buy all kinds of things to attach it. What I always find, though, is it's a lot easier if you just go to a mom and pop hardware store. We actually have one down the road, half a mile. Man, it is fantastic. that we're so close to something so important. You just tell them, I need to be able to put this fitting, downsize to this fitting, and they'll hook you right up. And so they gave me a series of fittings that I'm going to attach to get this IBC tank hose to attach to this hose. Okay, so I got two fittings here. Now all I got to do is put a connection in between the two, which is going to be this little bell reducer. Oops, wrong way. And then you just screw them together. Now, the thing is the threads will leak if I do it this way. So what you got to use is Teflon tape. And Teflon tape, just do a wrap around each thread like that. And that'll seal it up. And then I'll get my pipe wrench and I'll tighten that up real good. So now I've attached the pump to the IBC tank, and I should be able to open it up. And so now I open it up and I can see that I have no leaks, and the pump will hold back the water until I turn it on. So now my IBC tank has replaced my bucket that I've used for 3 years. This is the same exact concept of the bucket idea. So now all I got to do is run the wire to my battery. Now, one of the most common questions I get is, what side's positive, what side's negative on this pump? It doesn't matter. I've done both. I've switched it back and forth. It runs either way, and there's nothing in the instructions that says that there's a positive or a negative. And I only have to fill this tank up probably every 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month. The generator will run it. Eventually, I'll get a bigger inverter. My inverter is just a little bit too weak to run the well pump. And so when my inverter is able to run the well pump, I'll just use the solar panels and the battery, and I'll never have to use the generator to fill this up. I'm not ever going to let it really run all the way down because I don't want to run the well dry. Running the well dry is one of my biggest concerns. I won't ever let it get below half or so. That way also is if I run into a problem like the well stops working or the generator doesn't work or whatever doesn't work, I'm not out of water. I still will have, several weeks worth of water, and I can get my problem fixed. It's a good backup plan is what I'm thinking. Okay, so I've got it all hooked up now, and there's the shower head. I'm outside, so there's plenty of light. I'll turn on the water, and so now I have water. I'll walk over so you can hear the pump. Right there is the pump. In the wintertime, I'm going to buy some styrofoam, and I'm going to wrap the tank in styrofoam. I'll put a little space heater in it, 250 watt space heater, that will only kick on a few times a night to keep it from freezing, and I can run that off the batteries. One of the concerns I've had, and apparently several other subscribers have a concern, that when bad weather strikes, and I agree, that the camper is too light and will probably blow over quite easily. And since that way is north and behind me is south, we're always going to be getting this north-south wind. We got to figure out a way to strap it down. They even strap down mobile homes so they don't blow away in the wind. Well, what I've decided I'm going to do, and I've done this before with trailers and different things, is I'm just going to use a fence post. Now, I wish I had a fence post driver, but I don't. I just have a hammer. So it's going to be a long day trying to get this down into the ground. And I'll put one on each side. And then I'm going to throw a strap over the camper and just strap it down. It won't be the strongest thing in the world, but it will give us a little extra support so it doesn't flop around in the wind. I know that it can take quite a bit. I would say that once we get up to about 60-mile-an-hour wind, then we need to start worrying about things. And we don't normally get 60-mile-an-hour winds here in Missouri, but on those rare occasions, if a tornado comes through or we get a micro burst or something, the winds can pick up quite strong, and I'd rather try to keep this thing on the ground as much as possible. The third problem we ran into yesterday was how muddy it got. It got real muddy real quick. And so I had to find a solution to this because all we're doing is sliding around. I mean, we can hardly get out of the camper, it's so muddy. And I've already got a bad ankle. I've twisted it twice and it wasn't even raining, so I got to be careful. Fortunately, there's a bunch of trash up there at the trailer. You can see it probably right through the tree line there, that we got to clean up anyways. The less that we have to clean up, the better. Well, up there is some bricks. So as you see here, we have a bunch of bricks just laying on the ground. I was gonna have to throw them away or stack them up or do something with them. So what Carolyn and I have been talking about doing is trying to recycle as much as we can recycle and reuse what we can reuse. And well, here's a perfect opportunity. I'll carry these bricks down and make a little pathway in front of the camper. And fortunately, I now have a bucket that I don't need anymore. It's all trashed up because that was the bucket I was using for the well. So since it has a big hole in it, can't use it for water, I'll use it to carry stuff around with. Thanks for watching.